University. Tonight's quiet lesson is about life on Mars, the ancient possibility of water, the search for microbial traces, the rovers that read the rocks, and the latest careful theories about whether Mars may once have been alive. So sit back, get comfortable, and imagine a small rover moving slowly across a red desert under a pale sky, listening to stone for signs of an older world. Tonight we are going to speak softly about life on Mars. Mars has always lived close to human imagination. It is bright, red, visible from Earth, and near enough that telescopes can turn it into a world rather than only a point of light. For centuries people wondered whether Mars might have canals, plants, civilizations, or some form of alien life. Modern science has made the story quieter, but also more interesting. We do not see cities or forests. We see craters, dust, volcanoes, dry river valleys, polar ice, minerals, ancient lake beds, and rocks that preserve the memory of water. Mars is not the living world that old fiction imagined, but it may once have been a habitable world. That word matters. Habitable. It does not mean inhabited. It means that a place had conditions that could have supported life as we understand it. On Earth, life needs liquid water, energy, chemistry, and time. Mars appears to have had some of these ingredients in its ancient past. Today, Mars is cold, dry, dusty, and exposed to harsh radiation. Its atmosphere is thin. Liquid water is not stable on most of the surface for long. The surface chemistry can be hostile to organic molecules. If life exists on Mars today, many scientists think the most plausible place would be below the surface, protected from radiation and perhaps near ice, brines, or underground environments. But the strongest search so far is not for little green creatures or modern animals. It is for signs of ancient microbial life, chemical, mineral, or textural traces left in rocks from billions of years ago. NASA often describes Mars exploration through a careful set of goals: determine whether life ever arose on Mars, characterize the planet's climate, understand its geology, and prepare for future human exploration. These goals are connected. To ask about life, we need to understand water, rocks, atmosphere, chemistry, and time. The first successful Mars landers to search directly for life were Viking 1 and Viking 2 in the 1970s. The Viking landers carried biology experiments to test Martian soil. The results were intriguing and controversial, but they did not provide a clear, accepted detection of life. Viking taught scientists that finding life is difficult and that Mars chemistry can be surprising. After Viking, NASA's exploration strategy shifted toward follow the water. The reasoning was simple and powerful. On Earth, wherever we find liquid water, we often find life, or at least the possibility of life. So Mars missions began asking where water had been, how long it lasted, and whether those environments could preserve evidence. In 1997, the Pathfinder mission delivered the small Sojourner rover. Sojourner was modest compared with later rovers, but it showed that robotic vehicles could explore the Martian surface. It was a beginning, a small machine on another planet moving from rock to rock. Then came Spirit and Opportunity, twin rovers that landed in 2004. They were designed for 90 Martian days, but lasted far longer. Opportunity became especially famous for travelling across Meridiani Planum and finding evidence that water had interacted with Martian rocks. Spirit explored Jezero Crater and helped reveal volcanic and watery Its mission was not to detect life directly, but to ask whether Mars ever had environments suitable for life. Curiosity found evidence that Jezero Crater once contained a long-lived lake environment with chemical ingredients that could have supported microbial life. It also detected organic molecules in Martian rocks and has been climbing Mount Sharp, reading layers of climate history. Perseverance landed in Jezero Crater in 2021. Jezero was chosen because it once held a lake and a river delta. On Earth, deltas can be excellent places to preserve signs of life because sediments settle, bury material, and create layered records. Perseverance's job is to search for signs of ancient microbial life and collect rock cores for possible return to Earth. The latest important development is the sample called Sapphire Canyon, collected from a rock nicknamed Cheyava Falls in the Bright Angel Formation of Jezero Crater. NASA has described it as the Perseverance mission's strongest current candidate for containing a potential biosignature. A potential biosignature is not proof of life. It is a substance, pattern, structure, or chemical signal that might have a biological origin but could also have a non-biological explanation. This distinction is essential. Science becomes trustworthy by being careful at exactly this point. Cheyava Falls drew attention because Perseverance observed features sometimes described as leopard spots, along with organic carbon, sulfur, phosphorus, oxidized iron, and minerals such as vivianite and greigite. On Earth, similar mineral patterns can be associated with microbial activity, but some of them can also form without life. That is why the latest theory is careful. Mars may have preserved chemical and mineral traces that are consistent with ancient microbial processes, but scientists cannot yet rule out non-biological explanations. The sample is exciting because it is plausible, not because it is final. In fact, this is what makes Mars astrobiology so fascinating. The most important question is not answered by one photograph or one dramatic announcement. It requires instruments, comparisons, laboratory analysis, peer review, and perhaps samples returned to Earth, where scientists can use tools far more powerful than anything carried by a rover. Perseverance has been collecting sealed sample tubes. Some hold rock cores, some hold regolith, some are witness tubes designed to help detect contamination. Together, they are meant to preserve a record of Jezero Crater's geology and habitability. Mars sample return has been a major goal because samples studied on Earth could reveal details that rovers cannot fully analyze in place. The future plan has changed and been reworked over time because sample return is difficult and expensive, but the scientific desire remains strong. Bring carefully selected Martian rocks to Earth and examine them in laboratories. If ancient life ever existed on Mars, it was probably microbial. Microbes can be tiny, subtle, and difficult to recognize after billions of years. Fossil bones and shells are not what scientists expect. They look instead for mineral textures, organic compounds, isotope patterns, sedimentary environments, and chemical relationships that might preserve biological activity. Mars also forces scientists to ask what life is and how much evidence is enough. A pattern that looks biological might be produced by chemistry. A molecule associated with life on Earth might form abiotically somewhere else. A mineral produced by microbes here might have a non-living pathway on Mars. This is why NASA and the broader astrobiology community use careful language. Possible, potential, candidate, consistent with, requires more study. These words may feel less exciting than life found, but words that protect the truth. The story of life on Mars is also the story of Mars losing habitability. Ancient Mars appears to have had a thicker atmosphere, flowing water, lakes, rivers, deltas, and perhaps warmer or wetter periods. Over time, it lost much of its atmosphere, its surface water disappeared or froze, and the planet became the dry world we see today. Why did this happen? Mars is smaller than Earth. It cooled faster. Its global magnetic field faded early in its history, leaving the atmosphere more vulnerable to erosion by the solar wind. Without a thick atmosphere and stable climate, surface water could not persist the way it does on Earth. Curiosity and perseverance are exploring different chapters of this history. Curiosity studies layers inside Jezero Crater, moving through records of changing climate and water. Perseverance studies Jezero's ancient lake, delta, and older crater rim rocks. Together, the rovers are like two quiet readers in different libraries of Martian time. Other missions contribute too. Orbiters map minerals, ice, weather, and terrain. Landers have studied soil, heat flow, seismic activity, and polar regions. Mars exploration is not one rover alone. It is a network of orbiters, landers, rovers, antennas, laboratories, engineers, and scientists. The possibility of current life remains more speculative. Mars may have underground ice and perhaps transient salty liquid in rare places, but the surface is harsh. If present-day Martian microbes exist, they might live underground, shielded from radiation and temperature extremes. Finding them would require careful planetary protection, because scientists must avoid contaminating Mars with Earth microbes. Planetary protection is an important part of Mars exploration. If we search for life, we must be careful not to bring life with us and confuse the evidence. Spacecraft are cleaned and sterilized according to mission requirements. Future human missions will make this challenge much more complex. Human exploration of Mars is often imagined through habitats, spacesuits, greenhouses, and footprints. But before humans arrive, robots are doing the patient work of reconnaissance. Rovers tell us where water flowed, what rocks formed, where hazards lie, and how dust, radiation, and chemistry behave. There is something almost tender about the rovers. They are machines, but they become characters in public imagination because they move slowly, work carefully, and survive in a lonely place. Sojourner, spirit, opportunity, curiosity, perseverance, and the small helicopter ingenuity have all expanded the human sense of Mars. Opportunity's long mission ended after a planet-wide dust storm. Curiosity still climbs through layered rock. Perseverance still collects samples and studies Jezero. Each mission adds a page to the question, was Mars ever alive? The answer remains unknown. That is not a failure. It is the honest state of discovery. Mars has given us evidence of ancient water, habitable environments, organic chemistry, and now potential biosignature candidates worthy of serious study. But it has not yet given us confirmed life. For tonight, let that uncertainty be peaceful rather than frustrating. Science often lives in the space between wonder and proof. Mars is not silent because it has nothing to say. It speaks in minerals, deltas, dust, isotopes, and rover tracks. There is another important thread in the life on Mars story. Martian meteorites. Some rocks from Mars have been blasted into space by impacts, travelled through the solar system, and eventually fallen to Earth. Scientists can identify them by their chemistry and trapped gas. gases which match what spacecraft have measured in the Martian atmosphere. One famous meteorite, Allen Hill's 84001, created major excitement in the 1990s when scientists reported features that might be connected to ancient Martian life. The claim became controversial, and most researchers today treat it cautiously. But the meteorite remains important because it showed how difficult and fascinating the evidence can be. A possible fossil in a Martian rock is not enough by itself. Scientists must ask whether the shapes are truly biological, whether minerals formed at temperatures compatible with life, whether organic compounds are contamination from Earth, and whether non-biological chemistry can explain the same evidence. This is why a sample returned directly from Mars, collected under controlled conditions, would be so valuable. A rover can do remarkable work, but an Earth laboratory can use many more instruments, repeat tests, cut samples in different ways, compare isotopes, and let independent teams examine the same material. The question of life on Mars also touches the possibility of panspermia, the transfer of life or prebiotic chemistry between worlds. Because rocks can travel between Mars and Earth, some scientists ask whether early life, if it existed, might have moved from one planet to the other. This is speculative, but it reminds us that planets are not always completely isolated. I want to thank you for listening to Whisper University. If you made it all the way to the end, I'm very glad you are here. I hope tonight's quiet lesson helped you relax, learn something new, or simply drift for a little while in a calmer direction. If you enjoyed this whispered lecture, you can support Whisper University by liking the video, subscribing to the channel, or leaving a gentle comment with a topic you would like to hear next. It helps this little university grow and helps us keep making the world a little more relaxed and a little more curious through ASMR. Until the next quiet lesson,